about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, died with my own doubts.
Good morning and welcome to today's show. Now, in today's show, I'm going to be going through WordPress again. Now, I did do a video last week and just showing you how to install theme and a page builder and a few other bits and pieces around WordPress. So I went through kind of every little bit in WordPress. But in today's show, I wanted to go through the process that I go through when I create websites and the steps that I take when I first install WordPress and start building the site. So let's get into today's video. If you don't know me, my name is Jason Kruger and I help heart-centered businesses build and automate their online marketing systems. So you've installed WordPress, but then what are the next steps that you need to take when you're starting to build out your website? That's what I'm going to be going through today. And I'm now going to go and share my screen with you. And we're actually going to go in and actually go through all these steps so that you can see what you need to do when you first install WordPress and also the thinking behind building out your website as well. So let's go into my website now. For some reason, the overlays have stopped working. So let's just have a look at that and see if we can fix that. It's funny because all of this was there a few moments ago, just before I went live. So let's see what's going on here. So let's go to that one. So there we go. We're back in and up and running now. So in this window here now, this is what happens when you first log into WordPress after you've installed it. You're greeted with the dashboard. Now, when it comes to actually creating your site, there are a few things that you need to be aware of. There's a few settings that you should probably look at before you do anything. And the first thing we're going to do, we're first just going to go down to settings. We're going to go down to general. And these are just the normal kind of general settings on here. And this is your site title. So you can go and give that a title. And that's what appears at the top here. If you can see that. And this is your tagline. Now, for a lot of you, these settings will be correct already. You might want to change your site language depending on where you are in the world, and your time zone, etc. And then you can just go and set all these details. Under writing, nothing really there for you to change. The other settings that you will look to change in the next kind of few minutes once we've got some of the structure in place. But this is setting up your homepage displays. So if I go back to the main view of the website, so this is what someone would see when they first come to your website. And as you can see, it's just kind of a default page. Now, I do have a theme already installed, and I'll go through that in a minute. But this is your kind of default page for WordPress, where it's just going to display your blog posts. Now, WordPress has its origins as a blogging software, so this is still kind of reminiscent of those days. So we can go in and change this, but at the moment we don't actually have any pages to change it. So we'll come back to that in a few minutes. Now, all these other settings here, just leave them as they are. We don't need anything there. The next one that you do want to change is your permalinks. Now, this is the URL that appears when you are visiting a website and you're going to different pages. Now, as you can see, the default is set to this. So whenever you go to your website and you want to go to the About page, for instance, if I go at the moment, I couldn't type in, my URL /about because it's not set up that way. It's going to be set up using these numbers. And that's not what we want, because it's not going to be easy to navigate around the site. It's not going to be easy to tell someone to please go to my site and then go to /P equals 1 2 3 4 5 whatever. No, we don't want that. The one that I normally change it to is going to be post name. It's the simplest one out there, and it works really well. And so this is the one I suggest you change it to. And once you've done that, just click on Save Changes. Now, the next thing that you might want to do is start to install a theme and other plugins. Now, when it comes to choosing your theme, there are so many out there. And I do know that it can be overwhelming because, as I said, there's so many out there, and which one do you choose? And for me, there's only two themes that I've been using in recent years, and that's the theme by Beaver Builder, because I use their Beaver Builder plugin, their page builder for my sites. And the other one is the Astra theme, and that's the one that I currently use for all of my client websites because it is lightweight and it's fast. You can go and buy kind of pre-built themes from stores like Theme Forest, etc. But what I found with those working with clients that have bought themes from these online stores is that they can be very bloated, which then means that your site can be slow to load because it's just got so many features in there that you're probably never ever going to need. When they build these themes, they try to pack in as many features as possible to make it, worth more. They can sell it for more, but then it's more likely to sell because they have all these extra features. But the issue with that is 99% 90% of the time, you're probably not going to use all of those features, and they're just there kind of clogging up your site. So the one that I do recommend is the Astra theme, and if you can buy the pro version, I think it's something like $100, or actually no, sorry, the Beaver Builder plugin is $100. The theme I think is around $50. But if you can, I do recommend looking at buying the pro version. Today we're actually going to be using the free version because it does have a lot of features already that you can use to build your site, especially if you're just starting out, and that's what we're going to be covering today. So just bear in mind when you are looking at themes that yes, buying a pre-built theme can help maybe save you a bit of time, but what you've also got to realize is that when you buy these themes and you install it, it's not going to look, the theme is not going to look like it was when you looked at the demo site. The demo site has been populated. Now, sometimes they do give you kind of a button to push, which will turn the site into the demo site and pre-populate a lot of things in there. Again, not my preferred way of doing it because you don't know what is going to be installed on there, and there might be things that you don't need and you're going to have to delete anyway. So just bear in mind when you are buying these themes that it's not all that it's kind of cracked up to be. My preferred way of doing it is buying a kind of a blank theme where you can customize it to your heart's content, and that's why I recommend the Astra theme. So let's go back to that. And so after you've done your permalinks, we're going to go to appearance and we're going to go to themes. Now I've already installed the Astra theme, but all you need to do is click on the add new and then search for themes, and let's just type in Astra. And you can see it comes up. All you then need to do is to install it and then activate it. And once you've done that, it will come up here and you can see that it's now been activated. Now you can go in here now and start customizing it. So that's what we're going to do. So you can either click on this blue button here or just click on this button down on the left hand side. And let's click on customize. Now one thing you've got to bear in mind is that there will be more advanced features in the pro version. So there will be some things that we can't do, but generally going through this already, there are a lot of things in there that you can just use to get your site up and running. And in the future, if you do want to have those extra features, you can just upgrade. So under the global settings, this is where we can set all our topography and all that for our site. So this is where we can set all those font choices just for the body of the text. So these bits around here and the headings. We can also then set the colors. So all the text colors, the link colors, all of that can be set here so that this will then be across the whole site, so you don't need to go and set them each time you create a new page. The container. Now this is kind of a preference, a personal preference. You can have the site so that it stretches across the whole of someone's screen, or you can set a specific size so that it will only ever get as big as that. Nowadays, the sites that you see are mostly ones that do stretch across the whole width of a screen, and it's kind of very mobile friendly as well. So that's the one that a lot of people choose, and you can do that in here as well. So under layout, we're just going to say full width stretched. You can have all these other ones as well, and they will be more contained within this setting here. So the container width is set at 1200 pixels, which means that that's going to be the width of all the content. But if you don't want to do that, you can just set full width stretched and it will stretch it across the whole screen. But you can set that for your pages, your blog posts, and even your archives, so they can have different looks if you wanted that to. And then we'll just come to the buttons, and this is where we can set the colors of the buttons, so that when we do put buttons into the site, they are already configured with the colors, etc. What that allows us to do is that all the buttons that are going to look the same throughout the site. Then we come across to the header. So this is this part here within the site. Now at the moment, it's just pulling the information that we set in the site details in the settings earlier on. So whatever you put in there will come up here, but you can go in here and change it. So we could change it to a logo. Now I don't have one installed on here, but we can just go and select a logo, and then you can just drop your logo in here. And once that's done, you can then change the width so you can see how that looks on your site. If you just want to have the text like this, you can just go in and change it here as well. And we have a tagline, and if we wanted to display that, I just need to toggle this on, and as you can see, this now appears. But if you don't want to show that, then you can just switch that off. The other thing you can set here is the site icon. Now this is the favicon, which displays that whenever you look on a browser window, you always see a little icon next to the name on the tab. This is where you set that. So you could put your logo in here, for instance, and it will display there as well. We can go into design, and this is where we can change the font size of this, for instance, and the margins around it. We can then also go into the primary menu, and we can set how that works as well, and then design it. So we could go in and change if there's going to be any kind of hover styles on them, so when you go over them, what happens there, the colors, etc. So you can go in here and you can really go and customize the whole look of your site fairly easily, and actually get what it is that you want from the look and feel of your site, and make sure that it is on brand as well. The other thing that you can set here is a transparent header. Now you see this on a lot of sites. You'll see that on my site actually, that when you go into the home page, the first kind of column is kind of merged in with the heading, and that's a transparent header, so that it actually shows what's behind. And you do that if you want the depending on the look that you want on your site, if you've got a color scheme that you want to use. So you can just go in here and set that transparent header as well. So that's kind of taking care of this header. You can have breadcrumbs on your site as well. So what we'll do, we'll set that, and it's got the different separators in here. And as you can see, this is where it's going to appear. So you can have it in there. You can have it after the header. So you can have another little section here. You can even have it before the title. So that will be when you have titles on your page. I don't normally have breadcrumbs on my sites, but if you want to have that, this is where you will set that up. And then you have your blog, and again, go in here and you can go and style it as you wish. Now there's a lot of different settings we can go in here. I'm just going to go through these last couple here, and then we're actually going to go through and discuss structuring your site and how you go about doing that. Now sidebar is this bit here. Now normally I don't have sidebars on my sites except for maybe the blog pages. So this is where you can set that. So we're going to say we don't want a sidebar on as my default layout. On pages, we'll just set it as default because it will take it from this top setting. But on my blog posts, I want the right sidebar, and so the same on the archives. And as you can see, because this is kind of an archived page at the moment, it is showing me this sidebar down the side. And then we can go and we can also then select how big we want this. And then we also have the footer. So at the moment I have a widget in here, which is this displaying here, but we can then change some of this around if we wanted to. We've got the copyright message just here, which is this bit at the bottom. And if I click on this copyright, this is where I can go and actually change that text, and then I can change some of the styling of it as well. Once I'm done with all of this, I can then just click on publish, and then these settings will now be saved. And once it's done, I can just click on that cross. Now there's a lot of settings in this Astra theme that you can go in there and customize the look of it. As I said, if you have the Pro version, there will be more settings that you can go into and actually fine tune a lot of the different aspects of the header, the page layouts, etc. So if that is something that you are wanting to do, to have that extra fine control, then look at getting the Pro theme. I think it's around $50, and that's a year, because you get the updates during that year as well. So if they make any changes or add any features, or they just have normal security updates, you will get those as well. And that's the other thing with a lot of these themes and plugins. You do need to make sure that the developers of these themes are reputable, and that they're in it for the long term. You don't want to buy a theme or a plugin and then find out 6 months later that they're out of business, and you're not going to get those security updates, because that is a big part of keeping your website secure. It's making sure that there are going to be security updates when it is needed. So before we go and actually install other plugins, etc., what I normally do is go and actually start creating the structure of my site. So what I mean by that is I'm going to start creating all the pages that I have for my website. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to pages, we're going to go to all pages. And as you'll see, there are some default ones that are already installed by WordPress when you first install it, and that's the privacy policy page and the sample page. Now when it comes to having a privacy policy, you should always have a privacy policy on your website, and terms and conditions, and a cookie policy. So those are kind of the policies that you should have on your website. Now if you don't know how to write your privacy or cookie policy, there is a plugin that I recommend, and there is a video on my channel, and it's the Wow IQ cookie plugin. It's not cheap, it's £24 a month, but this is the only cookie plugin that I have found that is truly GDPR compliant. There is one or two others, I can't remember the names, but this is the one that has got the full feature set that I like, and it has been built in conjunction with a lawyer that specializes in GDPR and data protection. Her name is Suzanne Dibble. If you want to Google her, she knows what she's talking about, and she's already developed privacy policies, etc. for GDPR. And what's great about this plugin is that when you install it, it will give you a privacy policy as part of that. So you can go in there, it will ask you a whole lot of questions, and then once you install that plugin on your website, it will auto generate that privacy policy for you. So then it's taken care of, and if anything changes where in the law or anything like that where the privacy policy needs amending, all those changes are within your monthly fee. So something to definitely consider when you are looking at cookie plugins, because that is something that we'll cover when I go through all the plugins that you should install on your website. but it is something that you should make sure it is correct and that those plugins are properly GDPR compliant. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to create a simple website where we have your home, your about page, maybe a services page, a blog page, and a contact page. And all of these things are kind of, I would say, the necessary pages you should have on your website, depending on what it is. But normally, if you have a website, you do want to display the services or products that you want on your you want to sell. So having those on your website is a great idea. And so we're going to create all those pages on there. So the way we do this is we're just going to click on Add New. And we're just going to start creating it. Now, I am in the Classic Editor. I have the Classic Editor plugin installed. It is my preferred way of doing it. Yes, you can use the normal blocks editor, and I will create another video on that and how you use that. But I'm just so used to using the Classic Editor, so that's what I use for my sites, because it allows me to create the pages a lot quicker. And I use a page builder plugin anyway to build up my sites. So we're just going to go ahead and create all these pages. So the first page is the home page. I'm just going to call that home, and then click on publish. Then I'm going to go back and let's create another one. We're going to go about, publish, add another one, and let's just call this services. Then the blog page, and then the contact page. So if I go to all pages now, you'll see that all these pages have now been created. Now, before I go and start actually creating and editing the pages, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to settings, and we're going to go to reading. And this is now where we're going to change these settings. So at the moment, it's the home page is set to the latest posts, but I'm now going to change that, and we're going to click on static. We're going to have the home page as the home page that we just created, and the post page, we're now going to go and select the blog page. And then I'm going to click on Save Changes. The other thing that we can now do is go back to Appearance, and we're going to go down to Menus. And this is where we can create the navigation menu of the site. So I'm just going to remove these. These was from another demo I did. So we're just going to remove those, click on Save. And as you can see, I've got this main menu, but to create it, all you need to do is create a new menu. Go in here, we'll call this main menu 2. And we're going to set this as the primary menu. At the moment it's set to the other one, but it will override that now. So primary menu, and say create menu. So this is going to be our menu that appears in the header. And it's going to show us some of the most recent pages that we've created, but I'm going to go to view all. And as you can see, it's telling me what are all the pages that we have. So I'm going to click on home, blog, about, contact, and services. I'm going to add that to the menu. I can now go and just drag these to get them in the order that I want. So let's have it in this order. Yep, that's perfect. And then I'm going to click on Save Menu. Now, if I want to see those changes, I'm just going to go to the front part of the website, and I'm now going to just refresh this. And as you can see, this is my home page. This is part of the footer that we created earlier. That's my test box, or tet box, as I've named it here. So this is the page here. Now what I could do is just click on Beaver Builder here and I'll go straight into the Beaver Builder plugin. But before we do that, I'm just going to go back and we're going to go to plugins first, because at the moment the one that I'm using here is the Beaver Builder plugin, and again this is their free version. And to add that, all you need to do is click on Add New and search for Beaver Builder, and it will come up. And again, you just need to click on Install Now and then activate it, and that will now be activated on your site. Now to get started, this is the only other plugin that you need to install. The other plugins that I would recommend when you are nearing the finishing line with your website is the Yoast SEO plugin, because this will help you with the SEO on your site and make sure that everything is correct and in the right places. And the other one is going to be your Google Analytics. So to do that, you'll first need to have a Google Analytics account. If you have got a Google account for Gmail, that is normally your account, and you can just go to analytics.google.com, sign in there, and then follow the steps to create your site in there first. And then you can come back into your site and install a plugin. Now, the one that I recommend when installing Google Analytics is Monster Insights. And you can install that and then follow the details to connect it to your Google Analytics account. And then after that, you can then start tracking all the analytics on your site and see which pages are the most popular, etc. If you're going to be installing a lot of images on your site, the other plugin that I would recommend is Smush. There are a few different plugins like this, but basically what it does is when you upload images to your site, it will make sure that it's optimized for the web, so that if you've got a huge image file, it's not going to harm your site when it comes to load speed, because that will then count against you with Google, etc. So you want to install something like this if you are going to have a lot of images on your site, because it'll just make sure that they are optimized for your site. So those are kind of the basic plugins that I would first install on your site. There are a lot of other ones, and again, it depends on the functionality that you want for your site. But you know, depending on that functionality, you will need different plugins if WordPress doesn't have that functionality already. But to just get started, these are the plugins that I would recommend. So what we're going to do now that I've got Beaver Builder installed, we're going to go back to Pages, and we're going to go to the home page. And I'm going to go to Edit first. And the reason I'm doing this is because if I go back to the front page, you can see at the moment there's the title on this page. Now on some pages you might want that on there automatically, so you can just leave it, but I don't want this on the home page. So what I'm going to do is, when I go to the settings and I scroll down, there is an option here under the asterisk settings to disable the title. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on update. So if I go back to the front part of the site and then refresh, you'll see that that has now disappeared. Now I got two options here to edit it. I can just click on Beaver Builder here, or I can do it in here. Seeing as that I'm going to be on the front page of the website, let's just go to the front page and click on Beaver Builder here at the top. Now this is where I can structure my site, and this is why I love Beaver Builder so much. There are other page builders out there, and I will be going through those as well and showing you what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and why Beaver Builder is still my favorite one. So watch out for those videos as well. But this is where I can now structure my site. So I can go into rows and I can create any types of rows in here and structure my site as I like. Now I could just put one column in here, and let's just say we're going to have a heading in there as well. And the heading could just be welcome to my, let's just call this to my test site. And it's going to, if I just drag this out the way, it's going to have it in there. And I can change the HTML tag depending on where it is in your site. I can go into style. And if I wanted to, on this occasion, I could override the color of this heading. I can also change the font, the size, and all that as well. I'm going to align this in the middle and click on save. Now, the other thing I can do is, at the moment you can see it is just within that 1200 pixel container, but I want this to be full width of the site. So I just click on this little spanner, and under width I can go in here and say full width. Now you can see this big gray box is now full width. The content is still within that 1200 pixel container. Beaver Builder actually has it fixed at 1100, not 1200. That's just the setting in there. And again, you can go in and change that within the Beaver Builder settings. But if I wanted that to also be the full width, I just need to go in here and click on full width. And that will now be the full width. And as you can see, it's not quite. If I go to advanced, there will be some settings here in the padding that is causing that. So if I wanted to change that, I could go in here and change the right and the left padding. And as you can see, it is now full width. But what I can do here is I can change the, again, overriding the colors of the text, links, etc. And I can choose a background. So we could have photos, you could even have a video, color, or you can have a gradient. So let's go to gradient. We're going to have it as linear, and let's choose that. And then this one, we could change it to something like that. You can have borders. You can also have top shapes. So you see some sites where they might have a different shape to it. So we could have that on here. Let's have a wave on the bottom. Now, as you can see, it doesn't look quite right. So we could go in here and just change it to what we want. And you can also select the different heights in here. And then you can also change the color. So you can see this has got gray in it at the moment. We could go in and change that. You can even just have a slanted edge. Now, the one thing that we could do here, because this is quite narrow, but we wanted to have wanted to be bigger, we could change the height. At the moment, it's just the default, so whatever is contained within this, so the text, etc. We could do it full height, and what that means is that it's going to be basically the height of the screen. So depending on what size of screen you have, it will then just default to that. Or we can go in here and say we just want it to be a minimum height, and we can just say 400 pixels, for instance. What I will do now is just on this bottom color, we have everything as white. So let's change this to white. Now, if you know the hex code, you can just put it in there, or you can just go in here and select it, or find the color that you want. Now I'm just going to click on save, and as you can see, that's kind of the top half of my website. We could go back in here and change this to white now. So again, we could go and just do it this way. You can set presets. as I said, if you know the hex colors, you can just put that in there yourself and click on save. And then I can just go in here and start building out my site. So I might want to have 2 columns underneath that, where I'm going to have an image and some text describing a service, for instance. It could be your image and a bit of an about story on there. So you can build this all out as you wish. You can then go and put a button in there so that when they click on it, it takes them to the different pages, etc. So you can, just with this free version, you can build out a very good looking site just by using free tools. Once I'm done, all I need to do is click on publish, and that's going to be the site when people visit. And I can now go to all these different pages and I can go do the same. Now on this about page, what I'm going to show you is they do have some templates already built out. So they have landing pages and they have content pages. So seeing as this is an about page, let's just click on this about. And as you can see, I now basically have a fully fledged about page that I can just go in there and start changing the text. I could change some of the images, I could change some of the coloring, etc. But I already have the whole structure of my about page, and I can go through and do this for all the pages. Go to services, go back to Beaver Builder, let's go to content pages, and they have a services page. Now if you wanted to, you could put a video in here if you wanted. Now when you're putting video on your website, it is best to host them on a video service like YouTube, which is free, or to go and use something like Vimeo, which doesn't have all the kind of YouTube branding and that on there. You do have to pay a fee for it, but it is well worth doing. But as you can see, I now have a fully fledged services page that I could just go in there and change the content. And then the last one, let's just go to the contact page. And go back to templates. And they have the contact one there. Now, as you can see, they've got different pages. So there's an offer page, there's thank you pages, case studies, a download page. So if you do have an ebook or a report that you want people to be able to download, events. But then as you can see, they do have other templates in here. Unfortunately, those ones are locked and you will need to get the pro version of the plugin to get those. And as I said, I think it's around $99, $100 per year for the pro version of Beaver Builder. But you could just use these ones and then just customize them to your branding, etc. And you already have a lot of the structure there. So let's click on this. So now I have a contact page. It's got the map, contact details, etc. So all of a sudden, you've now, how long have we been going live on this stream? Not very long, and I've now got basically all my pages set up, and I can just go in here and edit them. If I wanted to, and I didn't want to build out my home page, I could just go in again to the templates. And instead of using one of these content pages, for example, I could have a look at one of their landing pages. So they do have a home page. So click on that. Now I could just append it, which means it will just come out at the bottom of what I've already built. But no, I don't want to do that. I just want to replace it. It's going to give me all the warning messages. And now, all of a sudden, I have a whole new homepage built. And all I need to do is change out the images, change the colors to my branding, change the content, and all of a sudden I've got a full website up and running. So this could be definitely a way of building out your site. I know that there are other services like Squarespace, Wix, etc. And yes, you do have to pay a monthly fee for those. But again, depending on those fees, you could get a complete WordPress website built for probably less. All you'll need is to get some hosting, and the hosting that I recommend is SiteGround, and they always have some specials on, and you could probably get some hosting for one website for less than $5 a month. So this is definitely something that you need to consider when you need a website. And like I said, it's reasonably cheap to get this all set up. It's just going to be a bit more of your time to set this up. But then again, if you're using Wix or Squarespace and using their templates anyway, you may as well look at something like this, because you can go and then customize this. If you want those pro features, then it's maximum going to be $150 a year, so that you continually get those updates. But then you have more power to then build out the site how you wish. Problem with Squarespace and Wix is that if there is something in there that you want to add and they don't have those features, you're not going to be able to add it to your site. Whereas if you have a WordPress website, you'll be able to find different ways to add those features to your site, be it plugins, or it might even be in your theme. But as I said, I recommend the Astra theme coupled with the Beaver Builder plugin to build out your pages. Now, there are other page builders, as I've said. There's another, probably two that are very popular in Divi and Elementor, and I will do something similar to what I've done today to build out sites using those themes and plugins to show you the difference. But as I said, I love Beaver Builder. It is something that I've used probably since they first began, and just seeing the evolvement of, if that's a word, of the plugin. So the development of the plugin, and also the ecosystem around Beaver Builder. There are other plugins that you can buy, and they also have free versions as well to add extra functionality to it, so that you can add in extra bits and pieces to your website. So as you can see, we now have basically a fully fledged website just using the templates that Beaver Builder provide. We go to the blog. Now the blog is going to be some area where you won't be able to customize it as much as you would like. That again is just because you'll need that pro version of at least the Astra theme. You won't need the Beaver Builder plugin to do your blog posts. To change some of the look and feel of that, you will just need the Astra Pro theme. So if I go into this blog post, you can see it's just standard look, and let's see if we can, how much we can customize this. So let's go back to appearance and go to customize. Let's go to blog. Let's go to the single blog first, and we'll see what we can do on here. So the structure that they have at the moment is a featured image. Unfortunately, this blog post doesn't have one at the moment. We have this sidebar on the side, and that's mainly to help you with navigation. And my apologies, I have not shared my screen, so you wouldn't have seen any of this. So I'm now back into the customizer. So let me just take a step back, go to appearance, customize, and go to blog and single post. Now this is where we're going to change some of the bits and pieces on there. As I've said, they've got featured image on here, but this kind of test post doesn't have one. We have the title and blog meta. Now if I switch that off, let's see, what does that do? What I should do is publish that first so we can then see. And what you can see, it takes out the heading and all of that on there. So we don't want that. We want to keep that. But what we could do, and let's just publish this so we can have a look, is, you know, we've got the title here, we've got the comments, the category that it might be in, and who posted it. So that's all of this information here. So at the moment we don't have the published date and we don't have tags enabled. We could switch off the category, we could switch off the author. So let's switch the author off. And that just takes that away from it there. The other thing you could switch off is the comments, but you know, if you're writing blog posts, you do want to have some comments on there because it will help with engagement on your website. So those are just those kind of general settings that we can change on the post. We can change the design, and on here, because we don't have the pro features, we can only change the font size of this heading just over here, so the hello world. So we could make this bigger, for instance. So let's make it 50. Go back and have a look. So you can see that's much bigger now. And blog archive, again, it's going to be very limited on what we can do. So we can look at the post structure and the metadata that's going to be shown. So let's go back to blog. And that means, you know, the title, this information here, and then just an excerpt of the blog post. One thing to take note of is that if you do have featured images, they will be displayed on here. And I do urge people to use featured images for blog posts because it does add that extra interest to your blog post, and it will make this page look a lot better. And then we can go into custom. So this is just your default structure. We can go in here and change some of the custom bits and pieces here. So the custom width. So if we wanted to, we could just change this. Let's see what this does. Let's change it to 1,000 or roughly 1,000 and publish that and go back. So as you can see, it's now pulled it away from this edge, which is probably a good thing because it looked a little bit squashed on the side here. So you could go and change this. Maybe that's a little bit too much. So we could maybe just change that to 1100. And as you can see, that's now starting to look a lot better. And then again, under the custom here, we could change some of this other information in here. You could have the full content of your blog post under here, but it's not something that I would recommend because it's just going to make this page very long. And what will be the use of that, of being able to click into a post if you're already showing all the information on this blog page. But it also means that people are probably not going to see all your other posts because they're going to get lost on the content of all the other ones. If I go to the design tab, we can change the font again. So the title font, and then the archive title font and the post title font. So we are a bit limited when it comes to changing the look of the blog posts. But if you're just getting started out, then I would just urge you to use it as it is because it will save you money. But if you wanted to, $50 to get the extra customizations, on there. And again, I will do another video showing you the differences between the free version and the paid version of Astra. If we go into global, let's see under container. As you can see, the blog post layout is set to the default, so the full stretch. Let's have a look at what was I looking at? The sidebar. So we do have the sidebar on blog posts and then on the archives, and it's currently set at 31%. So that's this width. And again, it will be the width of your monitor. So a bigger monitor, you're going to have a bigger sidebar. But you might think, well, this is a little bit big. You know, the content is looking a little bit squashed. So let's just change this to maybe 20%. Click on publish. And as you can see, it's now smaller, and that probably would work. And it will just give your content kind of more time to breathe. On there. So those are all the kind of the settings on there that you can use to all the settings that you can use to build out your site. And as you can see, you know, we haven't even been going for an hour here, and I already have basically a fully functional website. Okay, I don't have the content in there, but the whole structure is there. All I need to do now is go in and customize it to my brand. Now, when it comes to building out your site, yes, okay, we use the templates here, and they do look really good. But one thing you'll notice, and it's the way that I build my sites as well, is that things aren't squashed together. They're kind of given the room to breathe. There's a lot of white space. Things aren't kind of cluttered and squashed together. And when you're building your site, this is something that you do need to kind of look at and be considerate of your end user when they're coming to look at your website. You don't want it to be cluttered. You want it to have that free-flowing feel to it, so that people can read the information that's on there. And when it comes to putting the content on there as well, make sure that your pages have a goal in mind. Are there calls to action on your pages? Is it to book a call? Is it to download a report? Is it to contact you? Make sure that you do have those types of calls to action on your pages, not just on your website, but make sure you have them on your pages. Now, don't go and say, oh, I now need to have calls to action, and I'm now going to fill and have 5 or 6 different calls to action on a page. No, you don't want to do that. You want to have one call to action. You might have that button 2 or 3 times on that page, but have one call to action. Don't have at the top, book a call, a little bit further down, download my report, and then another one down at the bottom, contact us or book, whatever it is. You want to just have that one call to action, because you don't want to confuse your end user too much. You want to have that one goal in mind when they are visiting your site. Once you're done with this, you can go back now and install those other plugins. So use the Monster Insights for Google Analytics and use Yoast SEO. And all you do, go to plugins, go to add new, and search for them. So Yoast SEO, it's just this one here. Install it. Activate it. And once it's activated, you'll now have this section down here on the menu, and you can go into general and go through all these settings. Now I will create a new video going through the SEO details, so just watch for that on my YouTube channel. And if it is something that you are looking to do and build your own websites, and you want to do more online marketing, but you are struggling with the tech, then please consider joining my free membership at jasonkruger.com/free. I'm posting all my videos within this membership site, be it from Facebook, YouTube, and probably a few exclusive videos as well that aren't on those platforms, are all going to be posted on my membership site. And this tier is absolutely free, so you can go in there. And what I love about this platform is that it will be searchable. And I don't just mean like YouTube where you can search for titles or maybe the description of a video. It will actually search within the video as well. It's on a platform called Searchy. All the videos are transcribed automatically, and they have then the ability to search within that video. So no more finding a video and then kind of scrubbing through it to see where the content that you actually need is residing within that video. So all you need to do is search for your search phrase, and if I've said that phrase within a video, it will bring that up. You click on it and it will take you directly to that point in the video. So something worth looking at if you are wanting more help with your online tech. So this morning we've gone kind of through building out your WordPress website. As you can see, we've done it pretty quickly. All you need is some hosting, install WordPress, install the free Astra theme and the free Beaver Builder plugin, and then you're all set to build your website. And if you have all your content already and the images, you could potentially have your website up and running within a day or two. So, you don't have to be a complete expert in building websites. You can use their starter templates to get you started so that you can build out your website quickly and at least have something on there that people can see what services you provide and contact you as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will be doing something similar next week, either on WordPress or membership sites. And I will be creating some other videos comparing the page builders as well. So if that's something that interests you, then if you're on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel and clicking on the notification bell so that you get notified when I next post a video. And if you're on Facebook, please like the page so that you will also get notifications and when I next post videos or when I next go live. So I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I will see you on the next one.